Hey everybody, Fablecourt here. I am actually trying to stay on top of these videos as often as possible, especially because today, oh boy, alright, today was the premiere of the Season 5 finale two-parter. Okay. Honestly, I don't know what to think about this. There's so many different things that happened, and while some things I'm kind of happy that they went in that direction, others just literally had to pause my video because I could not keep going. Alright, so, I don't even know where to start. First off, I love how cocky Starlight Glimmer was in this entire thing, and also, if it wasn't obvious enough, spoilers, like the entire thing is gonna be nothing but spoilers because I have to vent about everything that I just saw. It was interesting the route they took, considering the setup that they gave us in the only like 25-second promo. And I'm glad to see that I was at least partially right with a few of these ideas that I had, though I am not thrilled with the quote-unquote backstory that Starlight had. But either way, I'll kind of start from the quote-unquote beginning. I kind of like the idea that the initial time of when Twilight and Spike is originally thought to be as sort of an accident because Spike just picked up the paper and they got whisked off into the portal. And I also liked how there was an insignia on the paper, and much like I called in my thoughts on the Season 5 promo video, I called it that it was a Star Swirl bearded. It was his cutie mark that was on the spell paper. I am so happy that I called that. And I am just so happy, though I'm kind of upset that they never brought in the idea of Meadowbrook. I'm wondering if maybe Meadowbrook was a made-up name or an idea or whatever from her, Starlight Glimmer, but I highly doubt it because Twilight had heard of Meadowbrook's enchanted items, so I'm a little confused as to why they didn't use that, actually, of all things, instead of, going ahead and using the same magical MacGuffin 10,000 times in a row. The repetition in this episode is absolutely insane. It just, it's everywhere. And part of me doesn't mind too much, but at the same time, I could have, I think I would have been a little bit happier with this episode if I wasn't stuck seeing nearly the same thing every 5 minutes. But anyway, moving on. So I'm thrilled that I was correct about Star Swirl. That absolutely blew my mind. Moving on to the first time that the Sonic Rainboom was stopped, and Twilight and Spike were thrust into the abandoned Ponyville section where they found that Sugar Cube Corner wasn't even technically there. It was completely renovated into something very boring and modern. The carousel the carousel boutique was never created, and Rarity wasn't even there. And that was whenever we got to finally see the factory version of Sweet Apple Acres. I kind of liked that whole idea, and I enjoyed the backstory of what happened in this timeline, and I absolutely adore the fact that technically DHX and Hasbro did very good in the idea. They kept the idea that Sombra had a hand in this, that he was brought back explicitly for one of these alternate timelines. I'm so happy because I never would have guessed that he had a role in this. I didn't see any signs of him in the promo. And I'll kind of point out a few more here. So I'm happy that they kept him a secret because I had no idea that the scene that we saw of Celestia sending an army forth, I was only half wrong thinking that she was going against a really large rival. At first, I thought it was Nightmare Moon, because Nightmare Moon was the only villain that we saw shown to come back in the promo. No, she was leading her army against Sombra's army. he had forced the ponies to don armor and attack Celestia in order to take over, and his kingdom stretched at least halfway across Equestria, on the cutie map anyway. So I found that really, really cool. And I kind of like the idea that that they kept with the whole sort of war-ish timeline, having, having seamstresses making uniforms and other people pitching in and stuff like that, like making it serious war times, and that was a very creative idea. What I don't like is how they only half-assed explained why the cutie map was in each alternate timeline. To me, that was beyond bizarre, and it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But then again, we had to have a reason in a means of Twilight making it back to the quote-unquote past to change the present/future. So, magical MacGuffin. Now, after that, after Rainbow Dash was stopped again, and she was sent back into the past, they came across Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie in another alternate timeline. It was whenever they were all dressed up, as Dr. Wolf said in his thoughts on the promo episode, Children of the Everfree Forest. In that one, it actually turns out, again, I was only half wrong about thinking that Sakura was part of the resistance led by Celestia as a sort of side operation, in order to go ahead and get the drop on Nightmare Moon. I was actually only half wrong. She was part of a resistance, and so was Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy, but she was part of a resistance against Chrysalis, another villain that we had in the past that was kept out of the promo to keep people guessing, and I loved that. That was a great idea. I'm glad we got to see the changelings again. And actually, it was kind of well implemented, and it actually posed a threat. A shame that, she didn't have very much screen time, and the same thing with Sombra, because Sombra was a great villain. He was more of a presence than an actual character, and obviously everybody makes fun of his zombie-like vocals and whatnot, but honestly, his design was pretty intimidating, because there's not very many black stallions, let alone one with a freaking red horn and a cape that looks like a king's pelt. But at the same time, they did a very good job in still making sure that Chrysalis was still a force to be reckoned with. And I liked the creative idea on their part, that there would be a salve that Sakura had made that would be able to basically weed out the changelings. So I'm kind of a little funny about the idea that they used it, yes, on Twilight and Spike to make sure that they weren't changelings, but when Rainbow Dash, Rarity, and Applejack came running into the camp, they didn't actually use the salve. She just kind of knew that they were changelings. Like, there wasn't any sort of, precursor or any sort of hints or anything. She's just like, oh, hey, I'm going to be cautious here and just kind of call you out. Oh, hey, I was right? Cool. So it wasn't thoroughly explained, and I'm kind of upset that they didn't actually, throw the salve at him and force him into changing. That would have been kind of a cool idea, since that was kind of what they were hinting at to begin with. But either way, I digress. But I am enjoying just seeing all these old villains, because after the Chrysalis timeline, they jumped again, and we also saw flashes of what life would be like with T-Rex in charge, with Discord in charge, and it was just really, really cool. And then before that, we ended up focusing more on Nightmare Moon, and that was the one that we kind of already knew was going to happen. But there is one thing that, again, was not explained at all, and I'm kind of upset that they didn't, because they could have gone really in serious detail about why this happened. But Nightmare Moon somehow overpowered Celestia and, went ahead and put her... She was the one who was trapped in the moon for the second time. Which, how? I mean, since she never was, given that spark for the element of magic, Celestia should have still had the power to use the elements against her sister for the second time, because it's mentioned the idea that she wouldn't be banished to the moon, but, that she was already banished. So this had happened, so this was the second time. This is, season 1. So, it's more than 1,000 years ago, so... why? Why did Celestia lose? How did she lose? It's never explained. She's just basically mocked and said, oh, well, she was too weak to defeat me, so she's the one who's banished to the moon. that doesn't give an explanation as to how you bested her or what means or what. But she's just feared, and that's literally it. There's nothing else to show for it. But something else that kind of bugs me about that alternate timeline is that everything seems to be okay as far as quote-unquote flourishing goes, because there's still plant life. I mean, there are timber wolves. You know, we didn't see very much else of Equestria other than, you know, the patch of everfree forest that was surrounding the castle of the two sisters. That was literally all you saw. So we don't know exactly what the other ponies were dealing with, but seeing the guards and everything, like Rainbow Dash was part of the guards for Nightmare Moon, I would have thought that they would have been in far more trouble, because if it was everlasting night, you can't grow crops or anything in eternal night. You need the sun, you need to fertilize, you need to give photosynthesis to plant life. How are you going to survive? You guys are on a vegetarian diet. How are you going to live? It just, so many different things. But anyway, there was a few other things that I wasn't exactly thrilled about. If I'm going to continue on this little rant here, I liked the animation. The facial expressions were really cool, and so was the animation as far as movement goes, because some of the expressions and gestures made by Starlight were kind of funny. Like how she'd be cashing out and her mane would be flowing, obviously, 'cause she's using magic to fly, which I don't know why any pony hasn't used that already, but, you know, that kind of goes without saying. But oh god, I'm gonna completely clear the elephant in the room here. I do not like Starlight Glimmer's backstory. I don't like it. And for one specific reason, it is the most jump to conclusion cop-out backstory I have ever heard of in my life. If you've already, then I'm just going to go ahead and say it, even if you guys have seen the episode. I'm just going to say it here, just so that way I can get my thoughts out. She had a friend, and he got his cutie mark first, and they never really spoke again, and that's it. That is her reasoning. I don't know why that automatically makes cutie marks the worst thing in the world. I don't get it. It makes no sense at all. If you guys are truly friends, getting a cutie mark, you should have been there with him celebrating. Why didn't he went running outside? You should have ran outside with him and congratulated him along with his parents, along with his friends. I know that he was sent over to Canterlot to study because of his gift in magic, but you're a gifted unicorn too. You could have easily met back up in Canterlot. How freaking difficult is that? There's not very many people who look like Sunburst. What is the deal? And the fact that she took it so harshly. Ponies mature, not just people, but ponies mature in different time frames, especially with cutie marks, as it's seen throughout majority of the main six. Applejack was one of the last ones in her class to get her cutie mark. But the funny thing is that she took it so seriously. She was a small town pony, and she got her cutie mark after her friend did. If you were a good friend, you would have been there with him. But at the same time, I can understand that if your friend travels and there's nothing much you can do. I get it. But honestly, she took it so damn harshly. She shouldn't have. It happens. Ponies mature differently. It doesn't make any sense for someone to take that seriously and automatically blame it on the cutie mark itself. And it's ironic because later on in her life, I don't know when because it wasn't fully explained, or what her cutie mark technically is, or why she got it, like what caused her to get her cutie mark. It's never really fully explained. But soon after, she gets her own cutie mark and uses her gift in amazing magical ability to make it to where ponies all are equal. She basically forces equalism. Basically, she's the Amon of My Little Pony. She forces equalism on ponies because she doesn't want to have a cutie mark take away her friends. When in reality, all of the ponies back at the town, back at the quote-unquote equal town, they all were afraid of her. They didn't want to be her friend. They were afraid of her because she was the one who was going ahead and using magic. Ironically enough, you don't see much of anybody else actually using magic, but she's the only one who's doing so, and everybody's all nervous around her and following her orders. She was nothing but a big dictatorship. That wasn't friendship. That was a dictatorship. And that was her whole reasoning, was because she didn't want a cutie mark to be the reason why she loses friends. I think her attitude and her demeanor would make it to where she can't keep a friend. But she blames it on cutie marks. I can understand whenever ponies say that they don't want their cutie mark because they don't want that to be the one identifying symbol of their personality, of who they are, of their destiny. I can completely understand that. And sometimes I debate whether or not I enjoy my cutie mark. But at the same time, cutie marks make you unique. They make you special, and they make you who you are. So, and I'm not saying again that, people who have blank flanks are personality-less or destiny-less or anything. I'm just saying the idea that, in a way, while I question my cutie mark, I enjoy it fully. It shows different facets of who I am, not just as a writer, but pens and quills are also used for drawing, and I'm an artist. I love to draw, and I love to write. I'm very artistic, and I absolutely enjoy every moment of what I do. But the fact that somebody looks at it as literally the worst thing to possibly happen to them, it's kind of harsh, and I kind of feel bad, because at the same time that I understand, I really almost don't want to understand. She shouldn't take it that seriously. And I feel bad for her, but at the same time, no, I don't appreciate that. And the fact that she's literally ready to go ahead and ruin some pony else's life, all because of the idea that she lost her friends. In a way, it doesn't even make her plan make any sense. She's basically getting rid of Twilight, or getting rid of the Sonic Rainboom so Twilight can never have her friends and have her town taken away from her. That's all well and fine, but she does realize that, and I'm pretty sure that this is what they were insinuating when creating the episode, but I think that this barren wasteland that Twilight brought brought Starlight Glimmer to, that barren wasteland, I believe that was where the Equal Town was. And that's what she could have very easily have told her. Even, it could have been a very good white lie, but then again, white lying is probably not a good thing to teach kids. But at the same time, she should have realized the idea that, honestly, okay, let's just use the most recent big-time villain we had, T-Rex, right? Alright. If they weren't friends, T-Rex would have destroyed Equestria, including that town. Starlight would have been enslaved along with her little town. Her life would be a living hell, and yet she goes ahead and blames her unhappiness on cutie marks. It's thanks to those main 6 and their cutie marks and their connection that she's able to be a free pony. I wonder if she ever thoroughly thought about that. But anyway, I digress. I've been ranting about this stupid backstory long enough. I'm going to focus a little bit more on the ending. I am not happy. I am not happy at all. I don't know whether or not I ruined it for myself by making up an awesome headcanon with the idea of Season 6 being more focused on the different timelines that Twilight could have been stuck in with that, that Star Swirl the Bearded spell that Starlight ended up switching up a little bit, which was never fully explained as to what... Well, yeah, okay, I guess it was explained because of the cutie map. But at the same time, I am not a fan of the idea that, just like Equestria girls, easily forgiven, easily joining the group. Oh my god, really? She was ready to destroy everything that all of you had worked so hard to create, including Rainbow Dash, who I felt really bad because she really did not know the gravity of that rainbow. She really did not understand. But it just drives me crazy how they're so willing to accept. I mean, I know it's a kid's show, but come on. I kind of ruined this episode specifically because I enjoyed my headcanon more of having Season 6 be more about the universes or bringing in Meadowbrook's 9 enchanted items. she lied and said that there was maybe only, 8 enchanted items, I think is what Twilight said. It was either 8 or 7. Because it turns out that the Staff of Sameness that Starlight found was just a stick in the desert. We all knew about this beginning of season 5. But I am just so frustrated because I am just hoping in some way, shape, or form that the Meadowbrook enchanted items are not just a red herring, and I just hope that maybe next season they'll bring them in. I was hoping that this entire season was going to be focused on them because that would have been interesting if Twilight unintentionally had gathered these items because she didn't know what they were, and that would be the magical MacGuffin to stop Starswirl the Bearded's spell. I would have enjoyed that. But no, we ended up getting the idea that, oh no, well, let's just talk her out of it. I mean, honestly, that she didn't have even that good of an argument, honestly. Twilight just kind of did the whole friendship is magic speech, and literally that's it. Like, that's legitimately the end of it. But in any way, I have been ranting about this dang 43-minute two-parter finale long enough. I have been going for nearly 21 flippin' minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to stop. Basically, mostly I didn't like this episode. There were some good points. I really did enjoy the idea of the main villains coming back, and I loved how Sombra and Chrysalis were kept in the dark, how we didn't know that they had anything to do with this. We didn't see any flashes of changelings, we didn't see any of the crystal ponies, we didn't see any of that. So I kind of like how they kept that in the dark. It was a good surprise, but I just cannot get over Starlight's backstory. I can't get over her reasoning. I can't get over the idea that, the Meadowbrook items were never brought up again. Just so many things. And the fact that she was just embraced by everyone in Ponyville, things just did not plan out. And honestly, it didn't work for me. I mean, again, I know this is a kid's show and we gotta keep it friendly and, make ponies happy and God forbid the kids are upset. So, either way, those are my thoughts. And I'm gonna let you guys kind of make your own comments and, down below. And let me know what you guys thought. I mean, honestly, I think it's interesting, but just go ahead and rant and I'll read it. I want to know what you guys think, whether or not you liked it, what you noticed that I didn't, anything. But either way, it's late. I need to go ahead and call it quits. So, I will talk to every pony later. Alright? Bye.